Hello, today it's all going to be about Chevrolet, about this particular car manufacturing company which we know today, which is the leading car company. Many people know about this car company and doesn't know the struggles which it had to go through, and also the owner of this person of the company, which he was the original founder of the company of Chevrolet, which was named after his name, and his name was very popular during that time. That's why people they took that opportunity to name the car Chevrolet. His first name was Louis Chevrolet, which he was a person of racing cars. He used to like racing cars, and these racing cars, being the best racer, he was able to publicize his name. And later on, he found an ingenuity where he was able to found a company using his first name because his name was already known, and many people know him because of his particular name. And also racing, they would like to see a car which he had made, and this is what made the car company and also the brand of Chevrolet to be so known by other people and also to be bought by many people. So I'll be telling you also the tragic life of this founder of Chevrolet, on how the beginnings of how he started in a very poor family, but in the end he became rich and also he uplifted his family. Although later on in the years he went back to working to the company which he helped to build as just a normal worker. So you can just imagine what type of pain this person had to go through, because working in the company which you had built as just a normal worker, and also you being able to not have any money, and also there was a lot of pains and also struggles which he went through at the end of his life. So I'll be telling you about this story of Chevrolet and how this big car company was able to compete with likes like Ford, and also being able to suppress Fords in sales during the years of 1920s over there to even in the years of 1960. It started as just a simple company. So the owner of and also the founder of Chevrolet was called Chevrolet. He was not an American like most of the people think that this car brand company is for America. But the founder of the car company was not an American. He was a person from Switzerland, which who had to migrate to America so he can have a life and also look for opportunities in America. Where that's when he was able to found and also be able to make that company called Chevrolet under his name. So Chevrolet was born in Switzerland, where his father was also a Switzerland. He was also a Switzerland, where they were mainly being able to cater for their lives by making watches. Where his father was, that was his main business, and sometimes they would go even hungry in their homes because they lacked food, and also the income which the father was generating was not enough for them. So they had to go hungry for days, and this was it was very bad for the kids like Chevrolet, which was the elder brother and his smaller brother called Gaston Chevrolet, and this was very saddening for them. That's when now Chevrolet now started making bicycles. He had a talent in making bicycles, and also he had a talent in mechanics. That's when now Chevrolet started making bicycles for people. And now after making bicycles for people, was in love with the how bicycles were being ridden, and also that's when he started being a racer, and now he was being able to race into multiple races. And some of these races he was able to win, and after winning this revenue which he had collected from winning the races, he will take to the family. So the family basically were dependent on also Chevrolet because of his races, and he was a good racer since he was a small child, and he started by racing bicycles. So that time they had moved to France, and that was the main. Also, there was the it was the main style which they had to put food on their table. So Chevrolet was also trying to make other mechanicals because he was a mechanic. He also many people knew him being a perfect mechanic and also a good racer of bicycles, and this made his name very, very popular until there's a particular time where there was a particular bicycle he was called to make. And this bicycle, little did he know that the owner of the bicycle was the richest person in America during that time. And he was able to make this bicycle very well, and it was the first kind of bicycle because it was a steam engine bicycle, driven engine bicycle. It was the first automobile bicycle, and he was able to make it, and that's when he was able to fall in love with those type of steam engines and also those particular types of engines of bicycles. And after discussing with that particular person and the child of that richest person in America, he was able now to fall in love with America because that person had invited him to come to America because America was a land of opportunities. That's when now the idea started ringing in the head of Louis, and Louis now started having dreams of going to America and also being able to be successful in America. So later on in the years, Louis Chevrolet was able now to work into other companies of manufacturing companies of automobiles, and he was working at leading companies in France. And this time, many people knew Louis by his ability to make nice cars and also his ability to race bicycles, and he was very good at that. So at the age of 21, where he was able to gather up all his life savings and moved to the US. And after moving to the US, he moved through Canada first. Then after moving to Canada, it's when now he was able to go to New York. And after going to New York, he found a person who helped him, and also he worked at his company where they were able to manufacture cars, and that's when he first learned about manufacturing cars, and that's when he was good at it, and his talent started showing because he was making cars at very nice precisions, and also there's no mechanical problem which was too difficult for him. He would eventually solve it. And that's when he would transfer to another particular company called Fiat in America, where this company deals with racing cars, and also it was a manufacturing car where he was able to deal with those types of racing cars, and he was able to make racing cars where those particular people were able now to race and also be on top of the racing team. And these particular racing cars which he was making, they were very good at the track because they were strong, and also the speed was it was in a high speed. And he was also chosen to be the race of that particular company, of the Fiat company. He was chosen to be the leading racer, where he broke the record of racing, where he broke the record of 1 mile, which he broke that record, and that record was a worldwide record. No one ever had to break that record but him. He was the first person to break that record. Many people didn't believe that that record can be broken, but he was able to break the record, and that's how now he started now racing for in races where people were put to in races with him, because that record where he broke it, it was just a normal race, normal type of race where he was the only one person which was racing. So after breaking the record, it's when his name was made publicly, and many people knew that Chevrolet was a nice racer, and that's how now many people wanted him to be race with other people, and also people were very curious to know if he could be top of those particular racers because he had already broken the record. So they put him in a particular race where he was able now to finish the first person. It was a shock for those people, but the people had already anticipated for this because he had already broken the record maybe like a week ago. So people who already knew that this was a star which was born, and that's how his name was started going into public, and many people now started knowing Chevrolet, and he participated in even more races where he will eventually become the top racer, and he always topped his particular cars, and his cars were very fast, and also how he handled those particular cars. It was a particular car where it needed a lot of strength to handle that car, and Chevrolet was a muscular man where he would handle these cars very nice because he was muscular, and during that time those cars were very rigid, so it required a lot of muscles and a lot of strength to control those cars. And this is one thing which helped Chevrolet because he was strong, and also he was he was like a daredevil, because some of the things which people were not willing to do, he was willing to do, and this is what made him top charts, and this is what made him become the top racer and also be feared on the racetrack. And this led to his name to be so, he became now a celebrity of cars. Many people were shouting and also knew the name of Louis Chevrolet. The name of Louis Chevrolet was everywhere. Many people admired him because of his racing techniques and also his racing courage, the courage which he had. And at that time, he dominated the race for almost 5 years. He dominated the race yearly, becoming top racer in every type of race which he raced. And at that time, it's when now he was able to be spotted by another person, which was the co-founder of General Motors, GM, which is General Motors, and also was he had a particular company called Buick Motors, and his name was particular Walter. He was Walter. His name was Walter, and that's when he was approached by him, and he was told now they can be able now to partner up and try to make a particular car, where this particular car will be having a particular name, and this particular name will be able to compete with these cars like Ford and other cars. And this was a good idea where they came up together, and at that time the owner of General Motors had been fired from the company which he had started because there were some financial problems which he had underwent, and this led to him being fired. And that's when now they were able to team up with Louis Chevrolet to make a company called Chevrolet, because at that time Walter had seen that this particular person was very famous, and just taking this particular name of Chevrolet will already put a name out there where he would already have a market already, because the name was already there, so the brand was already there, just trying to make a car out of this particular brand called Chevrolet. And that's now when they were able to divide themselves now to partner up, and also one will be the head of the marketing and the other one will be the head of designing those particular cars. And that's when now Chevrolet was able to sit with his brother and Gaston and was able to design a particular car which was designed for 6 months, and this car was very perfect. And one thing which helped Chevrolet is his knowledge of mechanics and also his knowledge in racing. So making cars and also designing cars was not a problem for him. So it took him around 6 months to make the first car of Chevrolet, which that car during that time after being released, it now started having some competitions with Ford. And during that time, it was 1911 where Ford had released its Model T, where its Model T had blown up and many people were using that Model T. And remember, the Model T, the owner of Ford was helped to build the Model T by the co-founder of also Dodge company, and those were the Dodge brothers. That story had released in another video where you can look it up. So this particular person, Chevrolet, now decided this car was fit to be released, and that's now when it started having competitions and also started giving competition to the Model T. And now that's when now people started knowing this particular brand of Chevrolet, and also how it also performed, because it was a car which could go for 65,000 kilometers per hour. So it was a fast car, and also it was also luxury. It was the nice type of design and shape, and many people now knew that not only did Chevrolet know how to race, but also to design cars, and that's how people started loving the car brand of Chevrolet. And at that time, Chevrolet was having some quarrels with also his partner at that time, which was Walter, having some quarrels on what type of direction should the company go. And before that time, remember also the Louis Chevrolet had also helped in designing front wheel cars, which were very good at racing, and these front wheel cars were which made him also very fast in racing. And at that time the front wheel cars were not already over there, and also it was just a an idea, but he put that idea into reality, and he was able to design that car where it also suppressed the other cars. That time people were driving with the back rear end engines, where the engines and also the motors will be on the rear wheels. So at that time it wasn't very fast, but when Chevrolet brought about these particular cars of having the wheels at the front. The cars were very fast, and also it was easy to control them, and this helped him even win more races. So Chevrolet was having some problems with that particular person, his co-founder, and at that time he decided he needed to travel before he would come and also make a deal with him, where this deal will they will agree or not will be the future of that particular company of Chevrolet, because they were having some issues and also arguments, because Chevrolet wanted that particular company to manufacture racing cars, but the other person wanted for it to manufacture very cheap cars which will be possible to compete with the cars like Ford. So when Chevrolet was traveling all over US and also went back to Europe, because it was a family trip, it was just a particular trip, and also it was a trip where he would be able to advertise his cars. So when he was returning back to America, it is when he found that the his partner had restructured all the type of dealership and also the manufacture company of Chevrolet into making only cheap cars. This was against their will, because they had to discuss, and this was against the will of Chevrolet, because nothing was discussed with him. He just went through ahead with his idea, and although he knew Chevrolet didn't want this particular idea, he just went on with that particular idea, and that's when Chevrolet came back and found that that particular company had already been restructured, and they were making now models which were very cheap to buy, and also they were competing with the Model T. Chevrolet was very angry with it. When he went to question his co-founder, which was Walter. Walter just replied to him that he didn't like the way he wanted the cars to be, and also he didn't like how he used to smoke cigars. Louis Chevrolet was a person which put some the cigarette on the other side of his mouth, and this was very the his founder didn't like him putting the cigarette on the side of the mouth. But Chevrolet now started disagreeing with the founder and told the founder, you can't take away my name, you can't take away my brand, but right now you want to take away my lifestyle, and this is what I won't allow. And that's when now Chevrolet departed with his own company, and now went now to further his career in making sports cars and also racing cars. And that's now when he was able to found his own company which manufactures racing cars. And at this time he had some money of which would help him in start his own company, which will be for manufacturing racing cars. And at that time it was nearing the depression, where the great US depression, which happened around the 1930s because of the World War One, was approaching, and this will also take a great toll for Chevrolet, because Chevrolet later on, his company, the one which he had started, also had collapsed because of this particular Great Depression which he was experiencing. And also the brother which they were racing together with, later on in the years, he was able to succumb in the racing track, and that's when now Chevrolet now swore that he will never race again, and he will never partake into any type of racing. Although racing was what was putting food on his table, and that's what was giving him everything, he decided now to do away with racing, and he will never race again. And remember, during that time of doing away with racing, and before his brother died, he had sold all the shares of Chevrolet to that particular his co-founder of Chevrolet, because he saw that Chevrolet maybe won't have any particular future, and he didn't also like the relationship which he had with the the co-founder of Chevrolet, which was Walter. So Chevrolet now decided now to make his other company where it will be able to manufacture just normal type of cars, which was a passenger car. But later on, he was also struck by a calamity where the people who will be the investors of that particular company were caught up by a saga, and this saga made them to withdraw from the deal in the last minute. And this made Chevrolet be able to finance the making of these passenger cars all by himself. And this also led him to be more bankrupt, because this company even didn't go further because of the depression which happened in America. Not many people were able to buy cars, and also it was a down moment for them. But during that time, also Chevrolet was picking up on its sales, and also it was being the most sold car, even more than Ford, and the sales were also picking. But during that time, also the person which they had co-founded with Chevrolet, the company of Chevrolet, he later on left that company because he sold all his shares, and the people who were managing now the company of Chevrolet were very different people. And he left that particular company because there were some problems with financial problems, as the first time which the financial problems which had caught up with him, which led him to be also bankrupt. So later on, it's when now Chevrolet was able now to live a poor life where he wasn't able to feed himself. So he decided now to go back to the company which he had founded, and also to be working for them as a mechanic. And that's how he got into depression. And also he was also infected by a particular disease which required for him to be amputated on his leg. And later on, he succumbed to the death at the age of 65. And after dying, his brother again died. He had that brother which died later on in the years because of depression, because things were very tough for them. So that's the story of the founder of Chevrolet, and that's the also tragic story. Although the company right now is so successful, but the founder and also the person which this company was named after, that's his story and how things went by, although very unfortunate things, but we enjoy and also reap his fruits even today, because Chevrolet is a company which in the 1965 over there 1966 produced a particular car brand which was called Chevrolet Impala. And this particular car was the best selling car, which sold almost over a million, the shortest time period where this car sold over a million type of cars. And this record has never been broken by any type of cars or any car brand all over the world. It was only Chevrolet which was able to is holding that record even today. So that's the story of Chevrolet, and I hope you like that story. If you liked it, please give this video a thumbs up and watch out for more till we meet next time. Thank you.